Good morning, folks.
Good morning.
Welcome. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to our fourth class in this six-class series. In the first class, we covered the metaphysics, the separation. In the second class, we covered the separated self. Wasn't that right? Yeah. In the third class, then, we covered the 7 relationships. The relationships that, when we talked about relationships, everybody jumped into the relationships that they have with other people. Those are not the relationships that we discussed, Nancy. Because the relationship that you have with the body, that body then has all the other relationships. Isn't that so? Mm-hmm. So if your relationship with the body is not true, what does that mean that all your other relationships are? This is why we have so many problems with relationships, is because we quite simply don't have a true relationship with ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we have those 7 relationships, and the relationships were with the body, with the world, with the split mind, with the right mind, with the higher self, with the Christ self, and with God. I think that was God speaking there.
That was God reading.
That was God speaking there. So today what we're going to do, this is probably one of the most important classes of all, because all the other classes so far has only been information. Okay? Information at the end of the day is only going to satisfy your curiosity. And we're all very curious when it comes to having our questions answered. Okay? But there must come a time when you say, I've had enough. I know enough. I need to actually start doing. Because nothing changes if you're not doing. If you're always thinking, if you can't think your way to enlightenment. Why? You can't think your way to awakening up. Why? This is important.
Enlightenment is beyond the mind.
Of course it is. Because the thinker is still not the true self. Like the beautiful line in the Course that says, the problem is not what you think, the problem is that you think. So you can see now why you can't think your way to awakening up. So practice has to come into this. So what we're going to discuss today is basically ATF, Advanced True Forgiveness. We're going to do complete forgiveness. We're going to do simple forgiveness, and we're going to do self-empowerment. And we're going to go through each one of those. Now, the problem that I have come across with most people who are studying the Course and also practicing forgiveness is they have forgotten one very vital part when it comes to forgiveness. Anybody here practicing forgiveness? Yeah?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Trying.
Can you answer this?
What is projection? That is when we judge others when they're behaving like we are, only we don't realize that we're behaving that way also.
Right. Textbook.
That's right.
Textbook.
That's actually what you see
Yes,
happen.
of course. Well, good. Right. But that there is basically the cover version. What's happening with projection under the surface? What's really happening? Anybody know?
Uneducated guess or educated guess that we're projecting out what we don't want to look at in ourselves.
Again, that's correct. Again, textbook.
Textbook.
Okay, anybody else? Nancy, you say you were practicing forgiveness?
Well, like you said, trying.
Yeah. What's your understanding of projection?
Well, when I look at you and I start judging something about you, actually what I'm seeing is how I'm judging myself.
Why do you do that?
Probably because I don't want to look at that it's me. It's
Right.
much easier if it's you.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Could you add that it's an opportunity?
Of course it's not. But everything's an opportunity.
So projection is just what we're in denial of.
You see, ultimately, forgiveness is the correction And people think for projection, but it's not really, because we're projectors. We're projecting all the time. And we always project what we believe to be inside. So when we're in the ego thought system, what do we believe ourselves to be?
Separate.
Separated, guilty, and fearful. But we deny that. Okay? That's a part of the unconscious mind that everybody has. And it doesn't matter what religion you have or what philosophy you follow, if you're here in this world and in a body, you believe you're separate. It's that simple. And if you believe that you're separate, then guilt will automatically follow. You can't have one without the other.
Why?
It's a metaphysical law that when you separate yourself from anybody else or anything else, then you break the law of one. The effects of that then or the consequences of that then has to be either guilt or fear. What comes into play then is basically the script that that person has written. Because everybody here in this room and everybody in this world has got tools. And they're the ego's tools. And they deal with the guilt and they deal with the fear. And if people have got very specialized and good ways of dealing with this and keeping it out of awareness, that person will go through life for a long period and they won't experience any fear, maybe no guilt, and they won't be, aware of their shadow or projecting it onto people. But ultimately, at the end up, we all come face to face with the shadow at the end of this life.
Yeah, the shadow I can understand, and I can understand the fear that comes up from separation, but I don't quite get the guilt part.
Yeah. You see, guilt at the end of the day, you can't have fear without the guilt. The guilt can remain hidden. And we're very, very good at hiding our guilt, as Nancy had said, because all we do is we place it onto other people.
What are we guilty of?
Huh?
What are we guilty of?
Yeah.
You see, ultimately, are you religious, Brenda?
Not particularly.
Have you heard the story of the Garden of Eden?
Oh, yeah, I've been indoctrinated. If you mean that.
Have you heard the story of the Catholic Church?
I think I'm going to wait for your book for that.
Well, ultimately, in this way, a lot of us, especially in the Western world, have been conditioned with
Yeah, of
guilt
course.
because of religion.
Right,
If we had come into this world, and maybe never encountered religion or heard anything about it, I don't know what would have happened. But I'm not saying that religion has been a bad thing here. Religion's been a very good thing. Why? Why is religion a good thing? Because of it.
right. Well, it does make you focus. There's an attempt to make you focus outside yourself. It may be misguided, it may be half information, but I think there's that focus.
Yeah. Well, the only good characteristic that I see in religion is basically it reveals to us the identity and identical reflection of the ego thought system.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay? The ego thought system is built upon sin, guilt, and fear. Religion is built upon sin, guilt, and fear. The ego thought system is built upon a wrathful, judgmental, and vengeful God. Religion is built upon a wrathful, vengeful, and judgmental God. The ego has heaven and hell. Religion has heaven and hell. The correlations are basically endless when you keep going. Okay, so if it wasn't for religion, okay, we can now look at religion and we can see the ego thought system and all its works at play. Okay, now this is a very good thing. And basically at the end of the day we're going to show now how we reinterpret the Bible, how we reinterpret religion, and how we reinterpret everything. So here's how it works. What is projection, right? There's 4 steps in projection. Okay? The first step is a big river in Egypt.
River of denial. I row my boat down that all the time when it comes to my age.
Okay? The next step is Diane?
Guilt.
No! I did this with you yesterday.
I know, I know.
Anybody? I did these 4 stages in last Monday nights. Few Monday nights also. Not you. What?
Judgment?
No.
Projection?
You're over to the corner. No. You're not answering.
Well, some kind of defense mechanism, wouldn't it be?
There.
It's an effect of denial. It comes in automatically.
Oh, repression.
Suppression.
Suppression.
Okay. 3rd stage.
Projection.
Yes. Okay. 4th stage. Most important of all. How do you know what you're projecting?
She's reacting.
Okay, so that is the mechanisms or the mechanics that's inside projection.
How do you define suppression?
Okay,
Like
suppression
it's-
is like
it's
suppression is like repressed thoughts. It's just
Stuffing it
they're
down.
automatically pushed out of awareness. You don't know
You
you're
just
doing
ignore
it.
it
No,
and-
you don't know. It's a part of denial.
So,
So would you say
the
that's your
same? Suppression, repression?
Yeah.
Same.
Well, you know, even denial, you work with passive aggressive. So you're denying that there's a problem and you're pushing and stuffing it inside. Okay? So denial works along with rationalization. Denial works with suppression, repression, and all of these things. So denial is the unconscious. Okay? So you don't think about denying something. We're always in denial. So let me show you here, at this stage, right, you know I work on the 3 levels. Okay? So I want to show you how projection works here, and then what forgiveness actually really does. Okay? So here, you have the one mind, the conscious mind that's awake. Okay? Here, you have everything that's true. And it's the true right mind. Another name for this would be the Holy Spirit. What would this be? This is level 2. This is the entirety of the ego thought system. So it's everything that's false. Okay? Everything that's illusion. And this is you here.
What does the P stand for?
Personality.
Hmm.
Just put it in there at the moment. We'll clarify that up later. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. Okay? Here is the ego thought system at this level. So what happens next is the ego thought system, this is the entirety of the ego thought system here. Everything that's illusionary, everything is false. And what happens is the ego takes it down another level, you could call it into hell, all right, into level 1. And this is the physical world, the body, and the split mind. So what the ego does now, basically, goes like this. Okay? So, you have the entirety of the ego thought system here. The ego splits itself now into 2. And it has, in one room, or one part, it has everything that's good and right. And on the other side, it has everything that's bad and wrong. This could be called the yin and the yang. It can be called the ego right mind and the ego wrong mind, or it can be called the shadow and the persona. So all these symbols are on this. Yeah? You with me so far?
You said the persona and the what?
Shadow.
Shadow.
Persona,
The shadow is the dark self, all our self-hatred. Persona is the good room. That's where our self-image is, our reputation is, where our good name is. It's where all our qualifications are, our achievements are. It's all where all the nice people around us are. And we put all the bad people into the bad room. Okay? And we put all the good people into the good room. So all your dreams and your aspirations and your future are in the good room. All your memories and your past and your disasters and everything that has gone wrong is in the bad room. Okay, with me? Yeah? So here's what's happening. Alright? These thoughts here, alright, are primary thoughts. They would be called what's unconscious thoughts. So these thoughts would consist of sin, guilt, fear, specialness, betrayal, and what else would be there? Yeah, I think that'll cover everything in there, right? So those are the primary thoughts.
What's next to fear?
Fear, specialness,
Oh, specialness.
okay? And then betrayal and all. So those are what you will call would be primary thoughts. And all primary thoughts then have secondary thoughts. So anybody have an idea what a secondary thought? Right? Secondary thoughts would be anger, irritation, annoyance, depression, shame, and again you would have guilt, and you'll have fear in there as secondaries. Okay?
So can you say they're just a reaction to your primary
They're effects.
effects?
Alright, so put it like this, these here would be the root of the tree. And these up here then would be the branches and the leaves of the tree. Alright? So, if you look at this now, alright, you have sin, guilt, fear, and you would have specialness in the good root. Okay? Then the anger is an effect of guilt. Every time that you're angry with someone, you're attempting to displace your guilt onto that person. Okay? So here's anger, here's the guilt up there. Shame is also a direct consequences of what? Why would you feel shameful?
Sin.
Sin. Also guilt. Okay? So what's happening here is our unconscious thoughts, and here are our subconscious thoughts. And our subconscious thoughts are all in here in these two rooms. What we have done is we have split all the thoughts that's in your mind, okay? You have them in two places. You have good thoughts and you have bad thoughts.
So guilt, fear, depression, shame, anger,
Whole lot more.
but how do you figure those are good thoughts?
No, what I'm saying is, just do this a second.
That's weird.
Specialness would be good thoughts.
Alright.
Fear.
Just fear up above and fear down below.
Got it.
See, they're just a rough there, right? See sin, guilt, fear up here? These are all the effects of those. Okay, so there's a whole lot of there. You have thoughts of unworthiness, thoughts of not being good enough. You know, there are many, many thoughts in there, but they're all effects of these original sin, guilt, and fear. Okay? So, still with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's the way. This part of the mind is here. See? Which means what? No, this part of the mind is in total denial.
Well,
We're in total denial of it. Yeah? We're in total denial of the sin, guilt, fear. Okay? So that's that part. Okay? This part is here. These thoughts now, like anger, irritation, annoyance, and all of these, what will you be doing with them? You'll be suppressing them. Why would you suppress them? They're not nice.
Yeah, I don't think they're acceptable.
You want people to like you. So you're going to automatically hide these, aren't you? Yeah. So we suppress them. All right? Now, what's the next correlation?
Projection onto a person, or
Yeah. Here's the key now. The body now projects what the mind tells it. If you just take notes for a second, I just want to then your attention to go through this. I want to go through this a step at a time. I want to bring this all together at the end. I'm promising you something here. If you can get this, you can get the whole course. If you don't get this, you're not going to get the course. If you can get this, you can go through your day, all right? And you're going to know what you're responsible for, what you're projecting. We're all projecting, okay? So what we have to do is sort out who's projecting what. Yeah? This is what all our arguments are over. Who's to blame for what? So imagine, just say Kate and Nancy, the two of you in an argument over who's right and who's wrong. All right? But if one of you or both of you realized who was projecting, then you would take responsibility for who's right and wrong. Isn't that true? So you save the argument. So imagine if you knew this and how this works every day, how many arguments that you would save. How many fights with yourself you would save. You would really give yourself an easy time. Okay? So projection happens when the body projects the thought onto the world. And then the last one is the reaction again now comes from the body. Now, there's a lot of arrows going a lot of places there. This is so crucial to forgiveness. If you don't understand this, there's a line in the Course that says, you forgive your brother for what he didn't do. What did he not do?
he didn't do what you thought he did.
Yeah, but you're so sure he did because you just seen him doing it.
or you may even have pictures of it.
People have videos of it. And they
Especially
show it,
on Facebook and Twitter.
and they show it to a lot of friends who are witnesses who say, I see it too. And remember then what he says in the Course, the eyes, there's nothing as blinding as perception of form. So the eyes were made to blind us from the truth. Simple as that. If you believe everything you see, you're in big trouble. Especially when you don't understand projection. The only thing that you're responsible for in this world is what you project. So you'll have a real easy time of it living in this world if you could find out, what am I responsible for? Because people are taking on either not enough responsibility or they're taking on far too much responsibility that they needn't have to take. The key here is this reacting. It's only you're responsible for what you react because that's what you have denied. See here? You only react to what you deny. Right? And that's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness undoes the denial. So I want to go through this now, right, with one thought. Let's use the thought of guilt. Here we are here, an unconscious thought. We're not aware of this thought. Alright, just stay with me for a second. Now when I go through this, don't write anymore. Because this is important if you can get your head around. Here's the thought we're all attached to, let's say guilt. Roy doesn't like this thought. Don't you not? So the guilt comes down into your subconscious, alright? And it comes down into anger. We're still not aware of it, but we can start to feel anger coming up in the body. Maybe a little bit. Okay? And we still don't do anything. So the anger here is in the bad room. Here. Okay? So the next thing what happens is the thought of anger comes into the awareness of the body. Again, we're not in charge of anything that's happening. Because this is happening. Here. The denial up there, the suppression down into there. And now what happens is the projection into the world. Okay? So this means that someone has said something that wasn't very nice, or did something that wasn't very nice, and you have reacted to it. Okay? Here's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness now, alright, takes this thought. Here's the anger, which is guilt, which you have denied. You know now that this thought belongs to you because you reacted to it in the body here. This is vital information for us because what's keeping people asleep, what's keeping people in pain and suffering is these unconscious thoughts here. We can't get at them. You can't sit in a meditation and go straight into this part of the mind. The only way we can heal that mind is by seeing it in the world here, here, here. So all of these thoughts here and here will end up here in the world. Because everything you react to in the world is what you're attached to. And we're all attached to this mind of what is false. So detaching from that mind is what forgiveness does.
What would you be attached to? Guilt?
The story.
In this case?
The story. In this case, guilt, yeah. Guilt produces anger. It's in the bad room, in the shadow. Comes into our awareness in the body. We project it onto the world. It's like poison to us, so the body naturally exposes it out. And the way that we do that is we find somebody who's guilty of something in the world, like Nancy was saying. So, here, these steps. Okay? This is what the whole course is about. It's about detachment. That's what forgiveness is. As long as we stay attached to this mind, okay, we stay attached to these two concepts of good, bad, right, and wrong.
So all the sin, guilt, fear, all of that, all of that, the primary thoughts the ego has comes from the fact that we separated.
No,
No,
because we didn't separate.
but we believe we did.
Yes.
It comes from the belief that we
Yes.
separated.
Yes. And that story was totally made up so that we would know ourselves, as we discussed at the first one. We'll be doing that in the very last class also. We'll be bringing this all together at the very end. But ultimately in this, all right, here is the problem.
Could you say forgiveness is a state of mind, an action, or a thought? Or,
All three.
okay,
Because you need the state of mind to apply forgiveness. Because the ego doesn't like forgiveness. Because you're detaching from the ego. That's what forgiveness does. So this is why the ego come in with its own forms of forgiveness. Forgiveness to destroy. Okay? So there are 4 versions of that. And we'll go into that when we come into it. forgiveness. But ultimately in this, a state of mind, if you're willing to practice forgiveness, a state of mind is vital. Then the action, of course. But forgiveness is a thought also. Forgiveness is detachment. Forgiveness is taking responsibility. Forgiveness saying, the problem is mine. All of those are what forgiveness is.
So forgiveness is a focus on yourself, not the outside world. You're not forgetting the world out there.
You can't forgive another person. You can't forgive what another person does.
What
So
did you mean
don't
by-
even try.
What did you mean by forgive what he doesn't do?
Well, that we're going to get into forgiveness. I just want to cover.
Okay.
I wanted to cover projection first to show you what forgiveness does.
Gotcha.
So this is what forgiveness does. Forgiveness undoes the denial, the thought that's in the mind. Okay. Now we're not deliberately in this world consciously denying thoughts. This is happening in the unconscious mind. And in the unconscious mind is the story where we believe we have committed a sin against God, or we believe we have separated from God, or whatever story you want to put onto it, it doesn't matter. We're all here. Okay? So it's about undoing the story. Yeah? So it's important to remember there's no separation, there's only the belief in separation that needs to be done, and that means here is the story that we're attached to. And the story consists of sin, guilt, and fear. This story would be different in the East. But I don't know the Buddhist story. I don't know Islam's story. All of those stories. But this is the story of the West, of Christianity, of religion. So we're all connected to this story whether we're aware of it or not. Yeah? So, any questions now on projection? Because you'll never get forgiveness if you don't understand what you're actually doing here.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I haven't been into this for very long, but when I've been trying to do forgiveness. And I was really patting myself on the back, oh boy, I'm getting this is working, okay. Then my husband did something over the weekend that I went into such a reaction. I don't think I've reacted that way in a long time. I just went into this total thing. And I thought, okay, you know that it isn't him, and you have to take responsibility for this. But you know something? I didn't want to.
Well, you know something? That is like taking responsibility. Because you were being honest. I had another friend who was basically in the wrong mind for 2 days. She knew she was in the wrong mind and didn't want to come out of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, how's this going to work if you don't? I know you're attached to the story there, but
Yeah. You see, all you're attached to, it's not that you're attached to the story, but there's a part of you that's attached to the story. And that part of you is saying, I'm the boss. I don't want to forgive. All right? No, there's another part of you who's taking a course, who's going on basically to wake up. But the false self, the ego self, this part of yourself here, basically is the part that has so much resistance, really doesn't want to forgive. And if you are going to forgive, it'll find a way. Did you forgive him? Or did you try to forgive what he was doing? So when you were doing the forgiveness, or thinking about it, did you do the forgiveness then? No?
did I do it? I tried to do the forgiveness.
But so that means you didn't do it.
No, I didn't.
Right. So let's go through it. Okay. What happened was, the thought was there, all right? Was the thought of guilt or fear, or what was the irritation or annoyance? What was the thought at this level here?
At that level.
What, is it in that sheet?
I was really pissed.
Yeah, well, is it in that sheet there?
Is it here?
No, you know that sheet in front of you.
Level?
Here.
Here.
Oh,
No,
on here.
is it there?
Something there.
Anger, yeah. And I think a lot of it had to do with my feeling of being unworthy.
Yeah. Oh, of course. All coming from guilt. All the effects of guilt. So what we do in our relationships, Nancy, is we place the guilt on someone, And we leave it sitting there. All right? You haven't aware that you've done this. And then the first error that that person makes, that you just pass. The guilt's already been on there. So, you know, in all of this, that's really good for you. You have been really honest with your synopsis of the whole thing, that you didn't want to do it, and then if you do want to do it, you know now what it is. Here was you, alright, here was him in the world. So the guilt come down here into the anger, into the bedroom, into your mind, you projected it onto him, and then you react.
Yeah, yeah.
So what forgiveness does now, forgiveness basically comes up to here and takes out denial by taking responsibility. That's all forgiveness does. You see, you might have a story about yourself in the story. Alright? And what I found what people were doing is they're kind of looking at this and they're saying, what does that say about me? Have you ever heard this? Do you know? You see, that's someone who really doesn't want to give up the story.
Who doesn't what?
Want to give up the story. You know, there is no stories at the end of the day. There's just blocks. And we can build stories around this. We can build stories around this. And this is what we do. And we project all these stories in here. But no matter what relationship that you have, no matter who it's with, you have stories that's coming out of here.
I have a question. If we're sitting in our living room watching the news and we see on TV a human who drinks and then drives and kills a family of 4, including the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, why should I be sitting in the chair forgiving myself what I thought about his actions? Why should I do that?
But how did it make you feel looking at that? Were you angry?
Yeah, sure.
Should you be angry?
I thought I had a right to be. He's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been the one that died and not the family he killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the dog,
So
which
you're
really
justified.
ticks me off.
So you're justified.
Pardon?
You're justified.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, but I mean you're justified being angry with this person.
No. See, I don't live my life like that.
I'm sorry, I'm lost again.
I know, no. What I'm, it's
Because
okay.
you kind of said that you
no,
were
no.
right to be angry with him. Now you're saying you're not right to be angry.
No. Just as a question, not about me,
Yeah.
but just as an example. Let's just say someone's sitting in a chair in their living room, sees this, and they
React.
react. Yeah, why should they have to forgive themselves? Because
Well-
of what they feel?
Well, two things are going to happen here, Nancy. That person has reacted, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. You can feel justified in the reaction and say, right, that's an idiot, as you said. But there's something else. Everything's information. So because of that person has reacted with anger, what is that person's state of mind? Is that person happy? Is that person living in bliss every day? Is that person reacting to... No.
Oh, sorry.
Is that person reacting to every single thing? Okay? The problem is not the idiot who did all of that. The problem is this person is not living in bliss.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So here it is. See this room and this room. Everything that you see in the world here comes from here.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're going to see things that are right, things that are good, and things that are wrong and things that are bad. Okay? So that person sitting in that room is attached to this mind. This is the ego. The ego's concept is this, that there is good and bad and right and wrong. Is there? Can there be? What kind of a world would that leave? This world. You see, everybody thinks that the world is dualistic. It's not. The mind is dualistic. We project that mind onto the world. What does the Course say about the world?
It's neutral.
Completely neutral. What does the Course say about the body?
Neutral.
Completely neutral.
Mhm.
This is what takes away that neutrality. We're attached to this mind. Okay, so I would look at that, and that person ultimately is sacrificing themselves. What that person is doing is they're drinking the poison and they're expecting the other person to die. There will come a time when you wake up and you basically won't react to anything.
Right.
That's the time that you're here. That's the goal in all of this. So for someone to sit in a room and be justified that I'm right to be angry with that person, that's okay, you're going to stay here. You know, that mindset is a mindset of hell. Because that person will have up days, down days, good days, bad days. Okay? When I have people that are right, people that are wrong, people that are good, people that are evil. You can't have one without the other. So what this is really all about is this forgiveness now, right, is about reinterpretation. And we're going to come back to this, I'm not going to go into it now, but when this is here now, I just want to cover it. How do we reinterpret these two rooms?
Forgiveness.
Yeah?
By detaching.
What else?
It's just conditioning.
No.
By changing that perception.
We need two symbols to go in here instead of what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad.
Can you say that again?
We need two symbols to go in here.
Oh,
What would you put in here instead of what's in there? You see, this is the apple in the Garden of Eden. You know, the apple grew on the tree of knowledge of good and evil and right and wrong.
So we can put Adam and Eve.
Eve would go here.
So we could go.
All right, here's the key up here. Here.
false and true.
You just have to hear me saying this. We must reinterpret this mind now, what is true and what is false. We bring it to this level. Alright? Because when you're looking at what's true here now, you're bringing yourself to this mindset. When you're bringing what's not true, what's illusion, you're still bringing yourself up to this mindset. But if you're choosing what's right and wrong or what's good and bad, you stay here. And if you're justified in seeing someone who's done something either right or wrong or good and bad, all you're doing is putting yourself still here. The whole goal here, kid, is to get to here.
Right,
Okay? To get to there, we need to get to here.
right.
That's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness takes us to level 2. It's detaching completely from level 1, which is the body, the world, and the split mind.
And so it is true.
Sorry.
That's okay, I didn't hear,
Yeah,
I didn't know who I was.
I was looking at you and I heard here what.
I was asking, so what is true?
Well, tell us, what's true? What's true in the world?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, no,
No,
there is something true.
Oh, just love,
That's it.
pure love, but that really isn't manifest in the world.
Well, I mean, you look at nature.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Look at birds, look at the animals, look at the love all around you. There's love all around us, but we don't see it because we're attached to this. You know, we're attached to these ideas of good and bad and right and wrong, and we're projecting it onto everything. And this is all we see because we're coming from this unconscious mind of sin, guilt, fear, darkness. Now, there are people out there and they're having great lives because they're very good at concealing all of this. There's nobody in this world that doesn't have all of this. If you're here in a body, then you're a part of this. This is the DNA or the genetic code for anybody that's here. Okay? So, when you look at people, don't be thinking that, you know, you're the only one like this. Everybody's like this. Sorry, Julie.
Well, I think this might have pertained to, my question was kind of connected to Gloria's, and I've been using for myself, I kind of am always looking for, I call them my tools, toolbox or shortcuts. And
Yep.
if something, seemingly bad happens, or guilt, fear, sin, pop in, anger pops in, I right away go to, okay, that's the category, I know this is the ego's material. I'm taking this right to Holy Spirit. I know it's not true.
Yeah.
I just know it's not true.
That's all you
If
have
it
to
makes
do.
me feel bad in any way, pick any of those
Yeah.
words, I know it's not true. And isn't that what the Course means by being above the battleground?
Yeah,
It may
exactly.
look like
Here's the
the
battleground.
family died and the dog died and oh, we gotta blame somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, is that what we're supposed to be
Yeah.
looking at?
Yeah. You see, this is.
Huge cry for love in alcoholic driving, huge.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But again, you could look at the truth. Did the dog die? Did
Well,
anybody,
did any of them
anybody
die?
die?
No.
Is there that?
And plus the fact, was that an accident? Of course,
I don't
clearly
know.
tells us there's no accidents. You see, what people forget here is we write our scripts, we come in here, we write our lines, but the Course tells us also no one dies without their own consent, and there's no accidents. So it doesn't matter who gets into a car anywhere, there's all appointed at a time as exit points. There's many people coming in here, there's people leaving here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so it would be chaos if, for example, no one had an appointed time that they would leave. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So this is all planned, and not only that, Kate, it's already over and done with a long time ago.
But see, I already know this.
Yeah.
I already know that.
Yeah. So ultimately in this, right, it's reinterpretation. When you reinterpret these two, you're really going to take yourself into that higher level of consciousness here. Okay?
So then there's nothing to hand over.
Yeah, yeah. But let's look at another point about true. Love is true, right? But what is the truth in any story? Because in our lives, right, we have many people coming and telling us many stories. We see it in the news, we see it in the TV. So we had one story there now that you told. We reinterpreted that story with the truth. So let's say you see something and someone gets killed right in front of you. You know, our natural reaction is to think this person's been killed. But you could stand there now and bring the truth to that situation. That person didn't die because there's no death. That person has chosen to die at that exact moment. That person has chosen that person to kill that person at that exact moment because there's no accidents. So you could look at any situation now here with all the tools that you have, and you can bring the truth to every one of them. You see someone arguing and roaring and shouting at someone else. What's going on? Denial, suppression, projection, and reaction. Both of them are trying to, I don't want the guilt, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it. When two people are shouting at each other, that's all they're trying to do. They've got the ball and they're passionate. You shout for a while and throw it back to me and I'll throw it to you. So we all have this ball, and this ball is not very nice. Okay? And we're trying to get, here, catch that. We're trying to basically get rid of it. Do you know? And this is all we're trying to do. And that's where the pain, the suffering, the conflict, everything that's in our lives, the disasters comes from. So when someone throws you the ball from now on, you have to hold it and love it. Bring it into your heart. It's the only way it's going to dissolve. Okay? So if there's no questions in that,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I have a question, go back a few minutes to, I think it was Nancy's sharing about you're doing really well in your, if I understood you right, Nance, doing really well in her program and forgiveness and kind of patting herself on the back and saying, I'm pretty good. As soon as she said that, I went, uh-oh, because whenever I've done that, false pride, it's like, get ready, ego's going to speak fast and loud. He's coming in. Sorry for calling him a he. But I've kind of, in practicing, I always think of this as like Carnegie Hall. The only way you're going to get there is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
So in kind of practicing, I'm just really gentle with my pride about whatever. I just go, okay, I'm getting closer to the real world. I'm getting closer to the truth. And it's a real gentle voice. There's, I stay away from patting myself on the back because that's like a ticket for my ego to come on and
Yeah.
hard and fast. Am I making that up, or is that just a pattern I've made up, or does that seem to be
Yeah,
true
no,
in the
no,
illusion?
no, you're perfect. You're perfect. Like,
That does seem to
yeah,
be true.
Yeah.
I guess I wanted to know, am I the only one that's like
I
getting
mean,
that ego, like?
but
giving
again,
a
don't
ticket
give
to-
yourself a hard time for that, because that's ego
Right.
punishing ego then. You know, you do something
Right.
good and then you feel pride about it, you know, which might, like you're right, you know. But there's nothing wrong with feeling good that you've actually
Right.
achieved something. You know, don't, as long as you don't project that onto other people then, like, you know, if you see the truth in that and give yourself a wee pat in the back, you know, because there's nothing wrong with feeling good about yourself in this world. So it's only
Right.
a problem when it comes that you're feeling good about yourself at someone else's expense.
Right.
You've just practiced forgiveness
Right.
and you're feeling good about that, so feel good about that. Because you've done something, you've just practiced a miracle. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so it'd
yes.
be different, you know, if I went to do something now, say, ran and opened the door and say Brando was going out and I wanted to impress Brando and all of that, like, you know, and I'd come back feeling all proud of myself, you know, that I've done this little thing,
Yeah.
like, you know, well, I'm seeking something from him, I'm not being honest, so that's all the false pride.
Right, it's like a
Yeah.
puffiness of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the effects of
Yeah.
practicing true forgiveness won't make you feel good, but the ego will try to come in and say, oh, this was false pride. Remember, the ego's very...
right.
So always look at the content of the action that you've just taken.
Very good.
What was your motivation behind that action? So anytime that you're questioning your pride, just look at where it's coming from and say, is this coming from something that I did that was true love, that was, you know, for everybody? Because the way this works is, when you do something for yourself, always calibrate it by this. Is this good for everybody?
Mm.
And when you're doing something for somebody else, always look at it and say, is this good for me? Because what's good for you should be good for everybody. And what's good for everybody should be good enough for you. What we're doing here, forgiveness breaks down the barriers of separation.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Could you make another comment on what you mean by hold it into your heart?
You see, inside, if you, and I would say this to everybody, right, have a symbol of love. Have a symbol of something that's pure within you. All right, and to me, I use my heart. Do you know? Because in my heart, there's the light of truth. There's everything that's true in it, here and here. And when Jesus says, when you bring illusions to truth, when you bring the darkness to the light, when you bring fear into love, then everything that's not true dissolves in that love. So what we're doing is, people, when pain comes into the body, when guilt arises, anger arises, our first reaction is to get rid of it onto other people. Okay? So what we're doing now is doing the opposite of that. So when pain now comes in, or any upset or discomfort, you just put your arms around yourself and bring it in, and the love and the light in your heart, that symbol that's inside you, will basically melt anything that's not true. So again, this is about not jumping to the ego's tune. You're angry, the ego says, that person, that person, that person, that person. But when you go, no, hold on a minute, I reacted, has to be my stuff, it's mine. You've chosen against the ego. You don't have to hand anything over. Why? Because this was always the key in forgiveness.
Because you've accepted it.
Well, you have basically stopped denying it.
Right.
You see,
right.
the ego
Right.
is denying. And now, forgiveness basically takes out denial, which takes out suppression. You're not projecting that denied thought now anymore, and now there's nothing to react to. So, this is the procession that keeps going all the time. So every thought that comes up here that you're denying, you'll see it in the world. Okay, so what you do now is you keep practicing forgiveness, and everything comes out of this mindset here, comes out of here and here into the world. You let go. So what you're really doing is you're emptying the trash. Okay? You're getting rid of everything that's not true. And this is the process of what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is emptying this mind, and this mind. That's all it is. It's not about you making up for anything, or anybody did anything on you, or anything else. You have believed a story in your mind that's simply not true. The reason why that happened, we'll get in the last class. We'll cover all of that, but not today. What's the time?
11.
I have one question. Okay, I have a friend that's very much believes she's a victim.
You have a friend that's, I'm just speaking up for the camera.
She believes
She's a
victim.
she's a victim. Yeah?
She's been raped. She's been homeless. She gets a job, she loses it. She gets a car, she loses it. And on and on and on. The pattern just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating ever since I've known her. So it can all be traced back to the primary thought of loss.
Well, in her particular case, she believes that she's guilty, and she's chosen a life now where she's going to consistently punish herself for that guilt, playing the victim. And this is the ego's answer, or the ego's version of atonement. The ego says you atone through suffering. So you look at the last 2,000 years in religion, you know what what do you call it?
Flagellation.
Yeah, flagellations, there used to be torture, there used to be burned at the stake. All of these things were all sacrificed for the atonement to make up for the great wrong that we did to God. So what people do is, they're unconscious, they're writing their scripts, and they believe that they're guilty and they need to go through this process of atonement with the ego, which means I'm going to bloody suffer. We have done this for the last 2,000 years. You know, and that's why the course is here now is enough's enough. So all that person can step out of that energy at any time she chooses by taking full responsibility for everything in her life.
But she wouldn't.
Well, of course not. Why?
Because
What is the purpose of someone playing the victim? What's her reward? Nancy, do you know it? Why do you play the victim?
attention.
Yeah,
No.
attention.
Yeah, of course, but what else? Something much greater.
So you feel better than the person who's the perpetrator? So you feel better than the person who's the perpetrator?
How would you feel better?
Because I'm the good one, I'm the victim,
Yes.
that's the
I'm
bad
the
one.
good one,
That's it.
yeah.
You get to blame the other person for everything that's wrong. Because that person will have a whole list of people that they're projecting their guilt onto, and they're saying is, you are responsible for how I feel. See, we all feel shitty. And it's our responsibility that we don't take it. So what we're all looking to do is to get someone to blame, so, like Roy says, we get to feel better about ourselves. That's why people choose the victim. They get to blame the other person, project the guilt, and be justified on it, because this really happened. You know? We're all victims. We're all victims of the ego and the ego thought system. But take it another level, we're all victims of ourselves. Okay? And we're victims of ourselves because we have given our power over to the ego. We give our power over to other people. And then they hurt us for it. But you give them the bloody power in the first place. You know, you give the ego the power. So we'll take a little break now for 5 minutes. Anybody who wants to use the bathroom or get a cup of coffee, and give us 10 minutes and we'll come back then. We're going to get started into forgiveness. So that's projection. Okay?
68,
Yeah.
68.
Okay, folks, welcome back.
Oh, I thought she said 70.
What I want to talk about just before we get into forgiveness now is a thing called form and content. Anybody want to enlighten me?
Yeah.
If you can sort out the difference between form and content when you're kind of looking at situations, okay? then it'll help you deal with the true cause, the true problem. Yeah?
So for instance, if you're having an argument with someone, the content are all the details, but the form is the fact that this is what's really going on, the general pattern?
No, the opposite of that. The content, right, is here. The form is always the body in the world. It's behavior. It's everything that you see.
Would it be the story?
Huh?
It's like the story would be formed like, because sometimes it's not that you're seeing
Well,
it,
the
but you're.
actions, the behaviors.
That's what I mean.
What you
Yeah.
say.
So the content is always the mind.
Content is how you translate it, kind of. How you see it.
No, the content. Let's say that.
But the mind could make special hate out of it or special love.
Of course.
That-
So let's say you see someone in the world and they're doing something.
Behavior, actions.
Oh, okay.
Let's say you see somebody in the world and they're doing something that's hateful. Okay? Well, that's form. What you would look at that, if you react to that, what you're really saying is, what is the content? Why did I react to that? It's always because I'm still attached to the thought of hate in my mind. If you try to fix form, what are you fixing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
An illusion.
And that's the problem with everybody in the world, or most people in the world, is they're trying to change the world. They're trying to fix the world. They're trying to make the world a better place. So right at the beginning of the course, Jesus says, seek not to change the world, but rather to change your mind about the world. So as long as we get confused between form and content, all right, we're always looking where the problem is not. The problem is never in the body and never in the world. The problem is always in the content in the mind. When you solve a problem in the mind, you solve it in the body and the world. When you solve a problem in the body or the world, you solve nothing because the problem's still in the mind. So when you're looking at your life, and you want to start clearing up things in your life, solving this roller coaster of a life where some days you're up, some days you're down, some days you're feeling great, some days you're really depressed, some days you're angry, some days you're really happy. The reason why that is because these are the some days. The two rooms, the good room, the bad room. You know, when everything's going well, you're in the good room because you're getting everything you want. You're in your persona. When you're not getting what you want, you're in here. Because you hate it when you don't get what you want. And we're all after specialness. And we're all after seeing guilt in the bad people. And we're all after seeing specialness in the good people. Okay? Specialness, guilt. So what we're really attached to here, and what forgiveness is really about, is bringing the truth of here, all right, here and here. So what we see in the world here, the good and bad, and what's right and wrong in the world, we bring it back to the content and we say, this is really my mind. Okay? So, if you're attached to, anybody here attached to something that's good in the world?
You bet, sure.
Yeah, what? Like what?
Plants,
Right.
animals, the beauty of the earth.
Food.
And how could you reinterpret that? How could you reinterpret that? Because there's a problem with what you just said. What's the problem?
That I have an attachment to it.
Yeah, but also you also have attached yourself to everything that's bad in the world. You see, once you take stuff in the world, all right, and put it in here, you can't exclude this. So if I say to you, you're really a good person, what am I saying? There are really bad people out there.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know, if I say you're really special, I'm saying there's really somebody that's hateful out there. You can't say one without the other. That's the trap in all of this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
So when we compliment people to just feel good yourself. Like I want to compliment somebody because it makes me feel good and I want to make them feel good. Is that going too far?
Well, you're being honest because that's what we're all doing, Brandon. You know, I'm only going to complicate. I'm only going to compliment you because I want you to compliment me because I want to feel good. Selfish. I'm not complimenting you thinking, oh, Brando looks a little bit sad, I'm going to cheer him up or whatever. I'm doing it with self-interest.
Is there a way to do it without? Because I don't know.
You
If
do.
if I stop that impulse and say I don't want to, you know, I have this thing.
That would be the wrong thing to do again. You see, our natural reaction is, right, when you see this in play, right, you just seen there, right, that's not the right thing to do, and you jump straight to its opposite to stop it. The key is to do it, but do it now with awareness that you know the truth of what you're really doing.
Oh, I see.
So when the next time that you're going up to someone, right, just ask yourself, what was my motivation here? Look at be honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, remember, Nancy, when you came in, you were honest about how that situation was. Do you know? And then, you know, Kate, you were being honest with your story. So, you know, you can be honest with illusions as well as the truth. Okay, so
when
it's really about your motivation.
When I compliment someone, I'm not looking to get something back. I'm complimenting because I really do love that necklace they have on, or it accents their eyes, or I am one of those people that, you know, am not looking for a compliment. I compliment because I want to, because I think whatever.
And what is it you're really doing?
Complimenting them.
Yeah. But
Paying them some love.
Yes.
Sending love.
That's all.
Sending
it is.
love.
That's
Right.
all it is.
Yeah.
You know, don't get into the details.
No.
You know, of what it's really all about. At the end of the day, it's about unconditional love.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what ego has is special love with self-interest. So we're really motivated just to give, to get. That's the persona. That's the ego's version. Okay? But ultimately, right, true love is unconditional, so you're just basically doing something for somebody with no expectation of
No strings
anything in
attached.
return. You're not attached to, you're not invested to it being returned or the outcome of anything in this.
I find there's usually a mixture of that.
See, when you say mixtures,
I mean, like I might compliment someone sometimes just because I like what they did and there's no motive. And other times there's a little bit of a self-motive. Sometimes there's more self-motive than
yeah,
just wanting to be complimented. It's not black or white,
yeah, yeah.
but it's very important to look for that
Yeah.
motive.
To
Yeah,
look for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, the more awareness is the real key here, because the more you're aware now and question your motives behind anything, even to question it, and then just basically now when you're going to give something. You see, the ultimate is this, is everything that we should give has to be unconditional for you to truly give it. So this world at the moment hasn't learned two things. It hasn't learned how to love, and it hasn't learned how to give. Because both are the same. They have to be unconditional. There's only one concept in this world that's close to that. What is it?
Others love.
No.
No, not my mother. What are you kidding? My dog.
No! Because you think that your dog is unconditional love? It's not.
No.
That's my illusion.
Your dog only
Stay in
loves
your own.
your dog only loves you because you feed it and give it a nice warm bed.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
break your illusion in your special relationship. So stop feeding your dog and stop giving it love to see. Look, what did you say the last night, Roy? I'll bite you.
Yeah.
So people think, oh, the dog loves me. The way we do is we have the perfect dog to make the dog the perfect friend. Okay? Because the dog will do everything that you want to do. All you have to do is feed it.
But
Keep it warm.
Wait.
We give it love.
You don't know my dog.
No, it's
So, Sandy, you've never fed my dog. Has she not given you unconditional love every time you've seen her?
But she's not hungry.
relationships with the dogs because the dog is non-judgmental at the end of the day. All right? We want a perfect friend. We can't have the perfect friend, so we get a dog. Some people get cats. Okay? So it'll never let you down. It'll always be there for you, and everything all you have to do is make sure you feed it warm. Okay? But it's still built upon a conditional relationship. And people love their dogs because the dog doesn't judge them back. You can basically say anything to the dog or whatever. Okay, so it's always about the motivation for any relationship. Okay, so forgiveness. You're all on formal content, yeah?
What does the ETF mean, by the way?
Advanced true forgiveness.
Oh,
Right. Because the reason why it's advanced true forgiveness was basically to take it up a level above the level of religious forgiveness. Now I'm quickly going to just go through the 4 elements or the 4 categories of religion's concepts of forgiveness. Huh? So the first one would be basically this practice of many religions. I will forgive you, the sinner. We're all asked to do this in the Catholic Church. Pray for the sinners and forgive the sinners. What's wrong with that?
Sinners are bad.
They're in the bad room.
That's right.
Okay. Which puts you in the good room.
Yeah.
Okay?
Victim and victimizer, right?
Yeah, but what the problem was, what we, are perceiving ourselves to be innocent. And the way that we do that is to forgive the sinners. It's how we claim our innocence, is to find someone who's more guilty than us. What are we doing? We're separating from the person. If you separate yourself from anything, you separate yourself from God in the same instant. That's what religious forgiveness does. It ensures that you stay separate from God. And you have 2 billion people practicing on a daily basis. So you can see how people are trying so desperately in this world to stay separate from God. And the ego, again, we talked about the correlation between the ego and religion. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So forgiveness is, in religion, that's the ego's form of forgiveness, which keeps you separate, guilty, and fearful. Okay? The whole point about A Course in Miracles and about true forgiveness is it joins you. It doesn't separate you. Okay? All forms of religious forgiveness separates. So the next one then is, I'm not much better than you, Brandon. You're a dirty, rotten sinner, and you're guilty, and so am I. So now I have joined with you. This is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I got it.
Right, well, what's wrong with that? I just said a minute ago that true forgiveness is about joining. So now I have joined with you. What's wrong with it?
it's mutual judgment. Well, not mutual, I'm judging both the other person and myself.
But at least I've joined.
You're making the illusion
We
real.
can be in the bathroom together.
There's something else there's something else that's happened, you see, that no one's aware of.
You're making him and you special because you're together now.
Right? That's okay, but the whole course is about...
But you remember, we don't want special love. We
Yeah.
want unconditional.
Yeah, but the whole course is about taking your brother's hand
Right.
and walking home with your brother. Right? You're a dirty, rotten sinner, and so am I. I've taken your hand.
Right,
Where are we going?
wrong direction.
Yes. Exactly. You can see now how the ego and religion forgiveness, all right, all keep you in hell. All right. The problem there is I've joined with you in sin. I've separated the both of us from God. Because when you join anybody in sin, all you're doing is separating from God. So that's number 2. Number 3 then is the one where the tool called passive aggressive is used. And here is where you sit now as a martyr. You sit in silence and suffer at this other person's hands. Maybe this person's nagging you. Maybe this person is victimizing you. Maybe this person is whatever. But you're godly, and it's the right thing to do now is not to react. Okay, but inside you're fuming, you could tear this person's head off. But you don't want to show it because you're a godly person now. What's wrong with that?
So many things.
It's still separated.
Well, there's denial going on,
Yeah.
suppression going on,
Yep.
using passive aggressive, there's projection going on, and there's reaction being denied. So if you're not reacting, how the hell can you forgive anything? Because forgiveness is all about being honest with your reactions. So the passive aggressive now just keeps it all inside. And most people who start doing the course all fall into this trap because they start trying to be good. Okay? They stop now reacting and they start justifying. Let's say they see someone on the street and maybe they've done something not nice. And they go, oh, that was horrible. And then they think, oh no, I'm doing a Course in Miracles. Ah, well, that person's upbringing, you know, they were homeless. That's why they did it. You see? Justifying actions. You're not basically being true and honest with yourself. You know, you have to be brutally honest with this. If you see someone and they're a hateful, rotten scoundrel, then call them a hateful, rotten scoundrel. Don't justify what they've just done. If you've reacted to it, it's you. It's that simple. You know, so be very honest with your reactions. The last, sorry.
Just a quick question. I want to see if I'm translating this correctly. That I feel that denial could be maybe described as false protection. It's like our go-to, like, oh, I'm going to think this, but I'm not going to say it. You know,
you see,
that kind of thing.
there's denial in content and there's denial in form.
Okay.
The denial in content, we can't do anything about it because it's our unconscious mind.
Okay.
Can't do anything about that. But we do deny in form. And passive aggressive is one of those. You see, remember we did the 4 steps? You had denial, suppression. We don't consciously think, I'm going to suppress this. Suppression, and that part of denial and suppression is automatic. But let's move into form. You have denial, and then you have the passive aggressive. All right, you're conscious of this. You know, so again, you have content and form. Everything that's in content is in form. Okay? You can't have something in content that's not in form. So always look for the both. If you see something in behavior, see something in the world, see something in the body, see something in the other body, and you react to it, it's coming from a thought here. Seek that thought out. Find out what it is. Because you're attached to it. And you're projecting it on to this body, or to that body, or to the world. So forgiveness, right, is detaching from this mindset. ATF is. So let's go through this, right? I want to just put some quotes out here from the course to give you an idea of what this is, this concept. No gift of heaven has been more misunderstood than has forgiveness. And I just went through why. So you have the 4 versions, right, of religious forgiveness there. This is what he's talking about.
You didn't say the 4th one yet.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Julie. You interrupted me. It's all your fault. You're not good. Get in there now.
Only if you join me.
So what does CF stand for? Did we go through CF, SF, and self-improvement?
CF.
Yeah.
Complete forgiveness. No, don't get...
We're not
We're not there yet.
We're
No.
not there.
This is just the ego's form of forgiveness. This is false forgiveness. What we're talking about here.
Not ATF.
No, I'm not talking about ATF. This is false forgiveness. The 4th one is this. It's called bargaining and compromise. And it's like this, right? I will forgive you if you promise not to do it again.
So that's a bargain.
Yeah. I will forgive you if you do this for me. So we're doing here, we're putting conditions into the forgiveness. Okay? And we all do this. Someone might come to you and they might say, oh, I'm so sorry about that, and you could turn around, well, don't let it happen again. You've just nailed the person, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
You put a condition
You
on it.
make it.
Yeah, of course. And what you're doing is you're reinforcing guilt, because you're reinforcing this person's error. Okay? So,
You said this is bargaining and number 4 was
Compromise.
compromise. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're really kind of selling forgiveness at this point.
Can I make money
And
doing
we're
that?
hoping that someone will commit a not big enough crime that will be able to hold them over a barrel for a long time.
Yeah.
That's what we secretly hope. You know, and that's what's secretly going on when people are found out to be lying or betraying or cheating or whatever in life, like, you know, because the other person, even though they're kind of saying you've hurt me and all of this, underneath the surface, the ego's jumping out with joy as, look, you'll be able to get so much for this person now, like, you know. So we all do this. It's the motivation, it's the ego.
Oh, feeling that gives you power, you
Of
mean?
course.
Oh.
Yeah. So another quote here from the Course: "It is impossible to look upon the body and not see sin." And that means this: it's impossible for you to look at another person and not see that person separate from you. See, the eyes and the bodies were made for us to believe that we're all separate from each other. When you see sin in the Course, it's always a synonym for separation. And then the next one is you cannot look on sin and then forgive it. What that means is, now I see your body, Brando, and I see you doing something that's sinful. Okay? Jesus is very clearly saying here about religious forgiveness. I can't forgive you for what I've seen you doing. Very clearly saying that. You can't look on sin and then forgive it. If you see the error, you have to correct the error.
And that's what the Catholics do when they go to church on Sunday, talk to the priest, do their confession, get their 3 Hail Marys or their 10 Hail Marys, and then they go back the next week and kill and maim and steal and everything.
I'm a Catholic.
No offense to the Catholics.
Don't take that personally.
Yeah, it's not a personal statement,
Listen,
but it is
it's,
what,
listen, everybody's doing it.
yeah,
Not only the Catholics. The Catholics just
Yeah.
perfected it better than anybody else.
exactly. They made it more fun.
All right. Ultimately, religion is not the problem here. Religion is just showing us where the problem is and what the problem is. Okay,
I missed that somehow. Okay, so I went out and did something bad. What are you,
I was talking about the mafia.
no, but I'm using his example.
right, yeah. I seen you doing something bad.
Right.
All right. I reacted to it.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I have a choice. Do I forgive you or not? In religion, I have this choice. Do I forgive you? I've seen you as a sinner, so now I have a choice. Do I forgive you or not? Some people will forgive you. Some people won't forgive you. But Jesus said in the Course that no one can forgive.
Oh, okay.
You can only forgive yourself. And what you're forgiving in yourself is my reaction to what I seen you do.
Mm.
I detach, because what I did is I projected, say, my hate onto you. I seen you doing something hateful. All right? I project my hate onto you. I don't know I'm doing that. All right? The first sign that there's a problem is I react to you doing a hateful thing. That tells me instantly I'm attached to the thought of hate. I projected it onto you. I take full responsibility for that. That's forgiveness. But I want to go through these steps first, because this is kind of like lifting the hood of the car and you're looking at all how the parts work here. It's very important you get into this, because then what you do at the very end, you just bring it simply down to a couple of steps. But you know now all these steps. So you know, like when you're signing an agreement, a loan agreement, and you have to read 50 papers of conditions, and then it says, I agree. Well, you do this with this. You just learn this, that you understand what this is. Tick the box, I know what that is now, and then you just bring it down now into a couple of thoughts. Yeah? It'll all come down into one thought at the end of the day. So basically let's move to step 1.
What's the categories for this? This is steps of what?
It is 5 steps of ATF, Advanced True Forgiveness. So in the first step, right, is the Course says everything in this world is either love or a call for love. So it's love. When I'm extending love, Kate, if I seen you going out there, maybe you had 2 bags, and I walked over and I opened the door for you going out. That's me giving you love. And you say thank you, God.
You bet.
All right. Let's say that I'm very angry with you. What am I doing?
You've got the attachment.
No, let's stay with love or
Okay.
call for love.
Okay.
Call for love, that's
Yeah,
all.
for love.
yeah. So when anybody's angry with you, or anybody says something that's not very nice to you, we have all had this experience, haven't we? All right. That person's calling for love, isn't it? So everything now to do with forgiveness is either love or a call for love. Isn't that true? So if you're angry with me, kid, and I recognize this, and I react to that, and I get angry back with you, whose call for love does it become now?
Yours.
Yours,
Why?
because you're seeing the guilty in them.
Why?
You're seeing the problem. Why? Because you don't want to look at it yourself.
Why?
But you know if you're seeing it, that it's yours.
Why? How do I know that? Might not be.
Because I have all these notes on it.
Well, does it have something to do with your own unworthiness?
No, let's
You're
stick with
reacting
what
to
we
it.
know, what we did this morning.
Because you're reacting to it.
So what does that mean? What does that tell me?
It's,
But you
denied
project
it,
it.
suppressed it,
That's
projected
it,
it.
Yeah.
that's it. What I want you to do, go through the steps
Oh,
every
the what you
time
did.
here.
Okay.
Because it's important that you start looking at every aspect and every detail of this, because if you don't, the ego's going to go up.
I missed it, what did she say?
Ego's
You denied it, suppressed it, projected it, reacted.
Oh,
So it's my call for love, you said that, it's my call for love, and I question how? Why is it mine? Now most people are going to do this, aren't they? You say to someone, hold on a minute, you know, that person come over and was shouting at me first. And we all played this, you started it. But then once I reacted, someone comes over, oh the problem's you, and I go, the problem's not me, that person started it. And then you find out, oh, but you reacted. Okay? So I need someone to show me why is it my problem. So, like Jody says, I reacted to it. That means I must have projected it. It means that if I projected it, I suppressed it. If I suppressed it, I have denied it. If I have denied it, it's coming from my unconscious mind. So you just go back through the trail. You get back to the very truth.
I understand that then if you react, then it's your projection. Does the other person have, because they were initially yelling at you, and I know that it wouldn't be any of my concern because there's nothing I can do about another person's projections, but do they also have to do their forgiveness?
No. Why?
they're the form.
No.
No?
Both are form.
Oh.
Two people are angry with each other. Remember, behavior, the body, the world is all form.
Because there's only one mind?
No. Yeah, that's true. There is only one man.
Yeah, but
And you
is that
can
why?
only do you. You
Huh?
can't- You can only do you. You can't do somebody
Of
else.
course you can. How do you do someone else? We talked about this with Diane
But
out
then
there
you're
in the
saying they're
break.
guilty.
Huh?
Then you're saying they're guilty. That's a
I'm not
judgment.
saying that. I'm
You
not
could
saying
help
that.
them.
Everything's a
Like help
reinterpretation.
them see.
Why does the other person not need to do it?
Because you do it for them.
Exactly. Because the other person's at one with you, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
you have reacted to the problem in them, it means the problem's in you. The problem is shared.
Okay, because you reacted.
So this is a miracle. This is where you lift the heavy burden of guilt from your brother. because it's the same guilt that's in you, the same part of your mind.
So then that means if we were to turn around where I'm the one who's upset initially and then the other person reacts to me, but then they don't know to do this, also I can do it for both of us.
Of course.
Okay.
And it was like Diane was saying at the break, okay, about this person who's always playing the victim. And she showed her the truth, but she didn't want to show that, she wanted to stay the victim. Well, that person is also Diane. What's in that problem, if we're all sharing the same mind, if Diane has reacted to this, the problem that's in that lady is in Diane, but Diane's not aware of it. Okay? So, by Diane now fixing that problem and saying, oh, the problem that's in you is in me, you can fix it for the other person, because in reality we're all one. Yeah?
So, I believe the Course says, so if you're doing it for you and you're doing it for them, the one other person we're talking about, you're really doing it for the whole world.
Of course. Because your brother is the symbol for everybody.
Okay.
And like if it's a special love, they're the symbol for love for everybody.
Okay.
If it's the symbol for one person for hate, then that's the hate you have for everybody. Jesus doesn't say taking all your brother's hand. He only ever talks about your brother. It's not right. Because your brother is a symbol for here.
So, how does the concept of a call for love apply here?
Well, the call for love is this. You know, any negative reaction that you have from anybody is a call for love. And it's your call for love.
Okay.
Okay, let's say the other scenario. Let's say this person's angry. Let's say Kate's angry at me. And let's say I don't react. Let's say I'm in my right mind. Okay? Anything that I say or do now for a kid will be coming from the right place and be coming from truth. I don't need to practice forgiveness. I don't need to forgive Kate for anything. Because in the right mind, in your true right mind, anything that you say or do will be the correct thing. So I would recognize straight away that Kate's very fearful, very angry. All she needs is love, and I might just go over and give her a hug. Might need to say anything. Might go and get her a drink of water. Or if we're in a bar, get her large brandy.
There we go.
You know what I mean? So all of these are the answer for that call for love. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
You know, if you've seen someone sitting like that or crying or whatever, you go over and put your arm around and say, what's wrong? You're answering that call for love.
You don't have to fix them, you're just answering.
That's it, you're just giving love.
They're open.
That person calling for love, and even by getting a glass of water, that's you giving that energy of love to that person. Okay? So everything in this world is love or a call for love. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, step one. If you react, now you must go through the next 4 steps. So, you move now to step 2. Recognize that what you see in another is what you have not forgiven in yourself.
Okay, number 1 was what? I'm sorry.
Number 1 was
If you
the call
react.
for love or love. And if you react, then it becomes your call for love. So what this is really saying is, let me recognize that what you see in another is what you have not forgiven in yourself. Another way of saying this would be, if I see guilt in you, it means I'm still attached to it. That's what forgiven means.
What
Okay.
you see in another is what,
You have not forgiven in yourself. So the whole point of this is about us detaching from the ego. And if you see the ego in another, our first reaction is to say, that's your ego. Yeah? What's the problem with that?
You're denying.
There's only one
Person.
ego. If you see it,
Yeah.
you got it. So you're denying your own ego. All right, the whole point of you seeing the ego in someone else is for you to detach from the ego, not to reinforce it, and the ego is always getting you to reinforce separation. So when people turn around and say, oh, that person's talking with their ego, all you're saying is, I'm separate from that person. So you're reinforcing separation. That's the ego. There's only one ego, and if you see it, you've got it. Simple as that. So, let's use a thought here. Let's use guilt for this, okay? So Roy, you've seen someone doing something guilty, yeah? And you've reacted to it. And you have said, it's not very good, yeah? So, what is it that you see in this person? What is the aspect you see? And it's always a thought. And this time, the thought is guilt. Okay? So you have a choice now at this stage. You can recognize what you see in this person is theirs or yours. So what you're really doing here is you're taking what?
Responsibility for it.
Yeah.
If I say it's me, I take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
I can't yell at them anymore.
You can't what?
It means I can't yell at them?
You can yell all you want.
Oh.
Yeah. As long as you do your forgiveness.
But if you do your forgiveness, you wouldn't have to.
That's it. That's it. It's like when Jesus says, cast the first stone, they who without sin. So if you're without sin, when you cast the stone?
Just get a mirror.
That's it.
You have not
So,
forgiven yourself.
Yeah, so what you're really saying here is what you're seeing now, this person is a mirror for you. What they're attached to might be guilt, is what you're attached to because you've reacted to it. Okay?
That sounds like this could be a recipe for passivity in inaction, though. Sometimes you really need to talk to someone if they're just
Yeah,
being-
but again, we're going to get to that.
Oh,
All right, patience.
okay.
All right, because there's another tool.
First, you want to see what's in it within
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
So you can be right.
See,
What happened to
what this ATF deals with, and this is important, put this right at the beginning. ATF deals with our projections. So with everything we see. There's other tools to deal with different aspects of the whole thing then, and we'll do those. We'll be doing, what you're talking about is self-empowerment, we'll do that in the afternoon.
Okay.
All right?
First, we have to see what's going on in us.
Excellent.
Otherwise, when we talk to them, we will
Exactly.
probably screw up.
Exactly. And this is where Jesus says, take the beam out of your own eye first, and then you'll see clearly how to take the speck out of your brother's eye. But what we're trying all to do is to fix the other person first without fixing ourselves. So what this is really about is recognizing and taking responsibility for the error that you have just seen in the other person, which is your projection. Okay, step 3 now is undo and remove judgment. So, the Course says at this stage, it is in the instant that the therapist forgets to judge the patient that healing occurs. Now, this is very important.
Could you repeat that?
Yeah. It is in the instant that the therapist forgets to judge the patient that healing occurs. Healing. So what this means is, Brando, if I think I need to fix you, what am I doing? Judging you.
Yes.
Will the healing occur?
No.
Because all I'm doing is reinforcing separation. I'm saying you're separate from me. All right? I need to fix you. I don't need to be fixed. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, judgment
Therapist.
Forgets to judge.
forgets to judge. You see, the ego cannot survive, right, without judgment.
Interesting.
The ego needs judgment. That's why at level 3, when you're awake, you're without judgment, you're above the battleground. Okay? As long as you're in judgment, you're pulling into a gas station and you're filling up your ego. Simple as that.
That's a good analogy.
The ego needs energy, and we energize it. We're giving it the energy, and people kind of think, "Oh, my ego's massive, and it's too powerful for me." Well, you're just feeding it too much.
Premium,
know?
premium, not
Yeah,
premium,
yeah, the ego needs to be starved.
The good stuff.
premium unleaded.
That's why we have brain farts.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
High octane.
And the other thing is, if you think the ego like as a big dog, all right, well, the big dog is the alpha male in the house. The dog is actually controlling you. So you need to take charge of the dog. And it's like any dog that we have in the house. If you allow the dog to run amok in the house, what does it do to the house? Well, that's what's happening in our minds. We're allowing the ego, big dog, basically, to run amok in our minds, and we're paying the consequences. So that big dog in there has a set of rules that it must live under, but you don't know what they are. That's what gives it all its strength, is that you don't know how it works. So the more that you work out how it works, the more power you have. Because all you need to do now is make the right choices here, there, and everywhere, and you navigate through the ego thought system now carefree. If you don't do that, you're looking through a maze, and you're walking into walls, you're walking into blocks, and you're having crashes over and over again. Why? Because you don't know the maze. Mind is a maze, and you will learn to navigate through it. And when you do that, the war's over. You're free. It's that simple. This is not about you trying to be holy or trying to be good or trying to be righteous or trying to be anything. It's about you actually detaching from yourself, because it's you that's in the way. You are the biggest obstacle to you. So what we're doing now is, it's kind of like, you know, when an investigator is at the scene of the crime and he has a suspect. So the guy that we seen doing something wrong is our suspect, and we're sure of his guilt because we seen it. But now we have this new information. Oh, I denied this, I suppressed it, I projected it, I reacted to it. Now I know this person's innocent. So it's like the detective in the crime scene knows now this person has an alibi, knows they're innocent. So you just remove them out of the scene. So now what you're doing is you're taking the guilt off your brother, and you're taking full responsibility for it. You're undoing judgment. Now healing can occur. Yeah? Step 4. Undo projection by owning and releasing. And 4th step now, with the person removed, they're innocent. All is left is the aspect that you have projected out, which is the guilt. So you take responsibility for that. You bring it inside because you're releasing it. And you can only give something away that you own. And the only way you can own it is by taking responsibility. And this is the one thing that no one wants to do. No one wants to take responsibility for the guilt that they see in another person. Okay?
I don't mind taking the guilt, but I don't want to be thrown in jail.
Contempt for. It's never about the form. Don't look at someone and see someone stealing something from a shop and say, I wouldn't do that. It's not about the form. You reacted to that, you're a thief. We're all thieves. Every day. Who are we stealing from every day? Ourselves.
But when
Our
we
true
speak
self.
I don't want to say, I did it.
Yeah.
No, he did it.
Yeah. But we're attacking and stealing our own innocence every day. Every time that you have a thought of guilt or thought of fear that you believe, you steal your own innocence. Simple as that. And then we deny this, we project it out, and we see other people stealing stuff, and we attack them for it. Those people, we're stealing their innocence. Why? Because it's our projections onto them. Okay, so we steal our own innocence of our true self, and we project it out onto people then, and then we steal their innocence in the world because we don't know what we've projected and what we haven't projected.
You know, man, that can get very subtle. I mean, you can project on other people without realizing you're doing it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because the ego can be a very tricky bastard. I mean, he just, he knows how to do it in a way that sometimes I don't even know when I do things if I'm projecting or just saying, yeah, this is what I see. Because the ego wants to kind of control. You know?
Yeah, but I see the ego, but there's another way to reinterpret that. You know the way I see the ego? I see the ego as someone who is your mentor, your master, and one day that you're going to surpass. Okay? So,
Suppress?
surpass.
Surpass.
Okay? Now the ego is, helping us to be who we are. It's training us to become awake. It's training us, like prodding us with needles, and it's like the devil down in the air giving you an odd prod of pain here, there, and everywhere, and saying, wake up, wake up. Because ultimately in this, you're not going to wake up until you're ready to wake up. So we used the analogy, remember, of the cocoon of the caterpillar? All right? And it's the caterpillar's struggle to get out that actually gives its wings the strength, so the moment that it does get out, it can fly. And it's the same with us. Okay? Our struggle to wake up and get out of the ego thought system is that way to help us that when we do wake up, we're ready for it. Because no one is going to wake up until they're ready for it. It's going to be much, much too of a frightening and terrifying experience. I went through that tunnel 4 times. All right, so you're not going to get in there once and do it once. So we have to prepare ourselves for this, and this is what we're doing.
What did you experience when you went through?
Terror.
Really?
The light drove me back every single time. It was like the vortex. And what it was it's the symbol of our journey going through the darkness and into the light. And the closer I went through it 4 times with the 4 near-death experiences, and the closer I got to the light each time, sheer terror came on. I didn't know at the time what I was frightened of. It was only later on that I realized it must have been what was behind that door. And what was behind that door was the light that was streaming in all the sides. Terrifying.
Did you feel the love from the light?
No, only the terror. And we used that. I was using the fear, the terror, as the block in front of me to keep the light away. We all do this. So what happened, I went through the dark night of the soul, and basically I was in so much pain, so much hell, that basically I let it all go one time, and I was able to let the fear, the guilt, everything go at the same time. So it was kind of like the bath was overflowing, and the plug was pulled, and everything was washed away. And then when I went into the vortex, there was no fear there, and I just went into the light. And love. Unbelievable.
The ego is assisting us in awakening.
Yes. You can look at it that way, or you can look at the ego as a monster that's attacking you. If you take on the ego as a monster attacking you, you're energizing it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay.
Jesus says in the Course very clearly, the ego thought system, to the ego, it cannot be undone. To undo the ego is to destroy it, and he says you will not destroy it.
Right.
Because it is a thought that belongs to you. You can't destroy a part of yourself. He says the ego must be reinterpreted. So I've just reinterpreted it there. So instead of looking at the ego now as some kind of a controlling victimizer, you look at the ego now, the ego's going to teach me everything. It's like having a samurai, a master in front of you, who is going to teach you to defeat, to transcend it, to go up to the battle, or above the battlefield, as Ken Wapnick used to say, which is up to level 3. So everything about the ego now is a reinterpretation, and that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness simply reinterprets what?
The denial.
Denial. So, see, everything is a reinterpretation from that. So it's like these 2 rooms here, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, and what's bad. They become what's true and false. Okay? Denial is the problem in our minds. Forgiveness is the answer to that problem. So in the 5th stage of ATF, then, it's basically just handing it over.
Handing it over?
Handing it over. What are you handing over? You're handing over the guilt. What is the guilt? Nothing. What are you handing over? Nothing. Okay? So what are you really handing over? the belief in guilt. It's only our beliefs that we hand over.
So number 5 is what?
Releasing.
Hand you over.
Releasing.
Yeah.
Hand over. Okay. So what I would say to you is this. I will email you through the ATF here. It's in 5 sheets here. And all this stuff here today, I'll be emailing it through to you, is all right, and all the 5 steps is all. Go through the ATF. Try to kind of understand every little movement in it. And then what you're going to do, we're going to, the last thing today, we're going to do a simple little 3-step. It's just recognize, correct, and hand over. So it brings this all down just to very, very simple concept at the end. But this is all the details that's in this. Do you know? So any questions on that?
Just one, like, I want to give an example, and have you run through it.
Right.
Okay, this is a discussion that Roy and I had the other day. Okay, this organization, as an organization, has been attracting a bunch of homeless people outside, you know, and they've been blocking the gate. We've asked them to move. They're still around. They're kind of messing trash. And so I said, Roy and I were discussing. I said, well, let's look at this not on a physical level, but on an energetic level. What is this organization, you know, denying, or
How is it attractive?
why are we attracting this, you know? So we came to the conclusion, we didn't really come to a conclusion, so I said, well, let's ask Michael.
Right. There was a lot of thought went into it then.
Some, yeah.
Some,
No,
not,
I mean,
not very much.
Are they feeling love
Yeah, you see,
coming from the
ultimately,
building?
yeah, ultimately in this, has anybody talked to them?
We've asked them to move.
No, I know. You have evicted them or trying to evict them, but has anybody talked to them? What's the symbol of this organization?
The symbol,
Yeah,
it's like light.
yeah. Saying these people are calling for light, and they've been turned away from the light. Don't get confused with form and content. Ultimately, if this is a symbol for the light, then people are calling for love. Okay? So if someday, basically, someone was willing to go out and just sit down and have a conversation without seeking anything from these people, without an interior motive of, you know, why, you know, are they here, or why are you trying to get rid of them? Well, just sit and listen to them and talk to them and see what they have to say and see what their problem is and see if you can help them on that level. You see, because there's a lot of people in this world and they're here, they're asked to move on. They're here, they're asked to move on. They're here, they're asked to move on. Now, what you have to say, is this a bank or is this light? Is this love? You know? And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So understanding will help to bridge the separation between those people, which is darkness, and the light, which is here. You know? So maybe they're just calling for love. Yeah, you know, there's no, you know, if you have reacted to this, how do you see them, Sandy? What's your symbol of them?
Well, I just,
Do you see them as a pest, a mess?
yeah, kind of, I mean,
Yeah.
because
You
they
see,
were
then-
blocking the gate for a while.
No, you see, that's the rationalization.
Oh, okay, yeah,
You see, now you're bringing form in to justify form.
yeah, right,
If you've reacted to this, right, it's always about yourself.
right.
If you see them as a pest or anything else, do you really see yourself that way? So what Jesus says in the Course, and I'll say this, put yourself into their shoes, and if you're in that position, how would you want you to treat you and the other way around? So in other words, do unto your brother what you would have your brother do unto you. So if you were in that position, what would you do? How could you help those people without sympathy or pity or you thinking that you're better than them or anything else? Meet them at their level. Yeah? Try to, see. You know, because again, what it comes down to here is we're trying to get rid of the shadow, which is everybody who's a pest, everybody that annoys us, everybody that irritates us, everybody that doesn't conform to society. You know?
I was just gonna add to that, I agree with what you're saying, Michael, and I was just gonna add, maybe if you went out with a pen and a clipboard and wrote down their problems and said, and maybe a little research before you go of, you know what, we found 4 blocks this way is a shelter, they get food every day at this time.
Yeah.
They have beds at this location,
Yeah.
that you have a little information about this
Yeah.
area
And that's love.
to maybe help them. Maybe they don't know just 4 blocks, so I have no idea, but
Yeah.
to just show them that you care. And I'm not surprised they're attracted. I mean, you guys use Joy here and the light and, there's all these plants around. They can feel the energy.
Yeah, of course.
They may not even knowing why, but if you look up and down the street, let me see, car wash or standing in front of Shumei. I think I picked Shumei too, not even consciously knowing what
Exactly, because
Shumei is,
people are drawn to the light.
Right, so, just, that little extra few minutes could change everything for them.
If you're
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're trying to fix things for people, this is where I get a little trapped up. Is that implying that they're in the bad box because you're trying to make them better? The hero impulse, I wanna go
Yeah,
out and
you
fix
see,
it because I hurt. I'm sympathizing with their situation. I would hurt if I were in their
Yeah, it's
position.
called false empathy. The key here to avoid false empathy is always be honest with how you reacted to this person. Have you reacted to in any shape or form? Have you reacted that this is good or bad? Is it right or wrong? Is it holy or is it unholy? Whatever. Do you know? So deal with your reaction first. Take responsibility for that part. And after that, sit down, talk to them, and bring the boss in along with you and say, how can I help these persons? You show me how I can help these people. Something like that. Yeah. So I just want to run through this quickly. It's to summarize. Step 1, recognize firstly this is a call for love or an extension of love. If you react to it, it becomes your call for love. Step 2, acknowledge that this person is innocent and what you see in this person is what you have not forgiven in yourself. The only way you can do that is if you know the 4 steps. I've denied this, I've suppressed it, I've projected it, and because I have reacted to it, that means I have denied it. Okay, so that tells you that this other person is innocent. Step 3, remove this person from the scene of the crime. This step is undoing judgment and replacing the ego's judgment with the Holy Spirit's judgment, which means I am one with this person. Step 4, bring back your projection by taking responsibility for it. Step 5, release and heal your mind. This step is you letting go of the ego. What time is it there?
12:15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, any questions on those 5 steps?
Just all those notes that you're reading off of that we can't write that to us. That's okay. Isn't there a place I can download it on?
Oh, I'm going to send you through the emails and all of this stuff.
Oh, so this will.
Yeah, and I have, all the classes. So if anybody, sees, give me the notes for this class or that class or that class, I'll send it through. Okay. So
Are they on your website?
Huh?
Are they on your website?
No, because you see, I'm just doing these classes up as they're coming up. I haven't done these classes like this before. So what I've done is I've opened a folder on my computer for all the classes with all the notes. So they're just handy to send them through to people anybody wants them. Okay. So any questions on anything that we talked about this morning between projection and forgiveness?
It would help me if you would walk me through, and maybe it would help other people, if you'd walk me through like my situation.
Yeah.
Where, okay, you start with my reaction, right? I start with my reaction
What did you react to?
to something my husband did.
What did you do?
And it made me feel really, well, he
Just something.
he started really flirting with some other woman.
Right. So
And
this is-
I felt
Yeah.
excluded and the whole nine yards.
just stay with that a second, right? Because
Okay.
it's important now that we bring this down to one thought.
Okay,
All right. So you reacted to the situation,
right,
and really what he was doing is he was giving attention to someone else.
exactly.
What's another name for that?
Another name for that.
For attention.
Love?
No, I wouldn't
No.
quite put it as
You
love.
wanna go that far?
Specialness.
Specialness.
Oh, specialness.
And the Course tells us very clearly here that specialness only becomes a problem when it's denied.
Okay,
So he was giving someone else specialness meant he was denying it to you.
right.
Okay? And what we're all talking about here is the special love. And there's nothing as painful as the special love. And the ego's love is this. The ego's love is found on these principles: ownership and possession. Okay? And the reason for that is because it wants to protect the specialness that it's receiving. Specialness is like a drug like you've never known before. It's a high octane drug. And we're all addicted to it. Okay? And that means we need special people in our lives to feed us this special drug. And like any drug, once it's denied to you, you have a reaction to it.
Right.
Okay, so the truth of the situation is that it's showing you the special relationship. Okay? It's showing you the possession and the possessiveness of the ego's form of relationship. It's showing you that when specialness is denied, how it makes you feel.
Right.
So the whole choice on this is, do you want to keep this relationship or do you want to let it go?
Well, the ego's relationship, I was sure the hell wouldn't let go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's not with your partner that you have this relationship. It's with the ego you have this relationship.
Oh, okay.
All right. You see, what people think is this, and I did a radio show here last year in Los Angeles, and everybody kind of thought that the special relationship and the holy relationship was between people. It's not. Okay? When you have a relationship with the ego, all your relationships are special. When you have a relationship with God, all your relationships are holy. And this is what's showing you is your alliance is with the ego.
Okay.
And your partner's showing you this. And the thing about this, everything that's not true hurts us. So he's simply showing you, hold on a minute, you need to wake up here. Because you're thinking with the ego, you're living with the ego, you're sleeping with the ego. All right, and that's going to hurt you. So he's actually showing you the miracle.
Okay.
All right, so you have the choice now to detach from the ego, or stay with the ego and blame him, or fix him, or say that it's all his problem, that he has to change. So what you're really doing is you're trying to change the world without changing yourself. The only thing that we need to change is our alliance of who we think with. Give me one thought that's yours.
One thought that's mine.
Yeah. One thought that belongs to you. Anybody?
I love myself.
I don't have any thoughts.
You love yourself.
I love myself and love everyone. So it's an all.
Who's the who?
Hmm?
Who's the who and who's myself?
Who's the
Yeah.
who?
Yeah.
Oh, who's the who?
Who's the who that loves who?
I.
Explain it
Hi,
to me.
everyone.
But who's the who?
All of us.
But
I know what you mean.
when you say I love
Yes.
everyone, who's the I you're talking about?
Me.
Who's me?
My.
But who's myself? There's only your true self and your false self.
My true self.
Ah,
Oh,
wow.
isn't that?
Wow.
Isn't that what we are supposed to?
But how do you know it's your true self? It could be your false self pretending to be your true self.
Nah.
Ah, but that's exactly what your false self would say.
Would want you to say, right, right.
Well,
You see, this is really good because this is the fundamental problem we all have. When I say to people, what are you thinking? You're supposed to say nothing. The ego can make the statement, I think, therefore I am not. Okay? You have to sort out the two selves. This is what we're all here to do. The part of you that's attached to the world, to the body, to everything else. So, when you look in the mirror, are you attached to your body? You see it as good? You see it as bad? Are you upset with it?
Mm-mm.
Are you in bliss every moment of the day?
No.
Well then, are you coming from your true self?
Mm-mm.
Right, so,
Yeah.
who are you speaking for?
Ego.
Your false self.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what the ego, that's what this is all about. The ego is pretending to be you. Alright, the ego is just a thought system. So how does the ego thought system come alive? It manifests in us. And now it actually believes that the ego actually believes that it's you.
We should all get Academy Awards.
You said it,
That's the truth.
because we are all bloody damn good actors.
You use that word.
Yeah. So what this comes down to, Kate, at the end of the day, when you make statements like that, always bring it back. Who's making this statement? Who am I making this statement about? Because all you did is reinforce separation. Alright? Why can we
Is it,
not?
why is it separation? Isn't
Because
that
you
what
can't
we are
give your
supposed
love-
to all achieve?
Can you
I
give
mean-
me love?
Yeah,
Yeah?
sure.
Why? How can you do that? Anybody?
No,
She
you
is
have to be
not.
love. have
You
to be
can't
love.
give anybody love. You can only show that person the love that's already inside. If you're giving love to someone and you believe that you're giving love to someone, you're reinforcing separation. You're saying this person's separate from me, that I am love, and this person has no love. We just talked about this a moment ago, where I'm innocent and this person's guilty. You're seeing separation.
That's not how I'm thinking.
Yeah, but I'm just using this. Yeah? So what people do in this world, they give love to people, okay, which reinforces separation. You can't give what you don't have. So how can we give love to people and all we feel inside is guilt?
We can't.
We can.
So forget about giving people presents.
I'll go back to the
Roy, you're off my Christmas list.
the way that we love in this world, like I said at the very beginning, is one simple concept. It's the highest form of love in this world. It's called forgiveness. Everything else is no illusion of love. Everything else is no. The Course very clearly says this, that forgiveness is a reflection of the love of heaven. Okay? There's no forgiveness needed in heaven. But forgiveness is the closest thing in this world. True forgiveness is the closest thing in this world to unconditional love. Because it means that I am taking responsibility for everything that I see you doing wrong, that I've reacted. There's no higher miracle or love that you can give to anybody than that. That's it. It's only the ego who will give love here, give love there. You can give energy to people. You can remind people that they are loved. But just be very careful. Like Brando says, the ego is a sneaky little. Alright, because the ultimate aim here for the ego is always for you to reinforce separation. And that means it wants to see you as different from everybody else, or it wants to see other people different from you. It doesn't care. It wants to see basically you as better than everybody else or worse than everybody else. It doesn't care. More holier, more special, or even more sinful, more guilty. Ego doesn't care. Because the ego doesn't care which of these two rooms you pick. It doesn't care which of these two rooms that you put anybody into, because both of them are the same. They're only the illusion of differentness. Remember in the Course we talked about the two mirrors. You know, one mirror's got all the diamond encrusted and the other mirror's just plain. Well, this is the one with all the diamonds and the rubies, and Jesus says when you look very closely, the diamonds are tears and the rubies are blood. I know it was a hard-hitting chapter. That was on the special relationship. So ultimately, here what we think is good is perceived good, and everything that's perceived good is the ego. It's like false humility, false pride, false empathy. All of these are the ego's tools. So, any questions on that? We'll break now.
I have a question. You said earlier that we cannot forgive another person.
Yeah.
Okay, then explain to me what happened 30 years ago. Maybe not, 30, maybe 35 years ago. Our house was broken into and the guy took everything we had. My husband had an incredible gun collection, very rare guns. They were taken. I had a gold coin. Everything was taken. And they found the guy. And we had to go to court. And they merely slapped his hand and put him in a rehabilitation place. And I felt so much anger. I mean, I really could have killed the guy.
Yeah.
I was thinking of things I could do to him when he got out of, what can I do? Break his, And I didn't know how I could ever forgive him.
Yeah.
And then one night, I had a very lucid dream, and I went to his jail, and I asked him why he did what he did, and he told me he came from a very large family, and they were very poor, and at a very early age he had to steal bread and food for the family, and by the time he was done telling me his story, I felt in my dream a lot of compassion for him. I felt really badly, and I thought, this poor guy. And I asked him, is there anything I can give you? And he said, yes. I'd like some cigarettes. So I went and got him a carton of cigarettes. When I woke up from the dream, all the anger was gone, totally gone. So where did it go? What happened? If I couldn't forgive him, how did all that anger go?
What happened? Anybody?
She forgave herself.
She did not. I'm sorry. You buried it. You buried
I
it.
bury it.
Because you justified it.
Feel it anymore.
You justified it. You rationalized it. Because you went into his story. All right. He did. He basically committed a sin. You looked on that and you seen what he committed was sin. All right. You can't forgive him for that then. But the ego took you down a journey of justifying his behavior. Oh, he grew up and he had to steal, whatever. That's a rationalization. It's an external excuse for an internal problem that you have. It was never about him. It was always about you. So when you rationalize anything, you bury it and you keep it. Rationalization and justification are the same. The answer has to be an internal solution. Can't be an external solution. When it's an external solution, or reason, or justification, it's always coming from the ego, because the ego wants you to believe that there is an external.
Okay.
Because you've just made the world real now.
Right.
Okay. Anytime that you go and you have an external reason or a justification or excuse or anything for doing anything, you've just listened to the ego and you're dancing and you've activated the separation, you've made the world real in the same instant. Okay? The problem has to be you reacted to it.
Yeah, I really
Put through all those tools in it, all right? You have suppressed it, you projected it onto him, you haven't forgiven it because you didn't take responsibility for it. Instead, you looked on the sin and you tried to forgive him. You couldn't do that, so you went, the next step was you justified it. You wanted a reason why he did this to you. So instead of going down Jesus, the route is forgive them, Father, for what he didn't do. You justified what he did by kind of understanding it better. Isn't that true?
Well, that was before the course.
Exactly. So, we all do this. We're all doing this. So the answer is always internal. It's always coming from love.
Question, what was the original?
What was it all about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, it comes down to stealing. So he stole your possessions. What have you stolen?
God, I've stolen everything.
Yeah. You have stolen
Everything.
basically the identity of your true self, You have stolen the relationship of God, you've stolen the relationship you have had with heaven, you've stolen your relationship you have with bliss, with love, with peace, with joy. You know, so we deny all of that, we project it out, and now when someone steals something from us, we attack them from it.
You're
We
going to
feel
jail,
that.
Diane.
I like it,
Don't
okay.
worry, maybe I can pass go.
Okay, listen, we're going to stop for a bite to eat now, and we'll be back. What time is it now?
Don't bring her a pack of cigarettes.
12:34.
Yeah, we'll be back around 2 o'clock, or whenever we're back here. 2 o'clock, we'll say, right? Because sometimes the service is slow. So we'll see you at 2, yeah?